Richard Rodgers with a walk-off touchdown. Total disbelief at Ford Field.
He may go all the way to the 20 down the right side, and it's Randall Cobb to the 5, to the end zone, to the touchdown. Oh my goodness.
Welcome, everyone, to the Green and Golden Boys Packers podcast, a podcast for Packer fans that just need a place to vent. I am your co-host, Charles, and with me, as always, is Marcus. Marcus, how are you today?
Better than I was Sunday afternoon. How about yourself?
I'm better than I was yesterday. I feel like the heatedness kind of wore off a little bit, so it's probably good we didn't record on Monday and we waited till Tuesday evening, but man, it was a tough game. I was on the road back from the cabin this weekend, so I listened to Wayne call the game for most of the first half, and it was a weird half, right? So for a moment, before we tie this loss to the other losses that we've had so far this week, let's just talk about this game for a second, and then we can broaden it out to the other issues, to the trend that we're seeing this week. Because if we had this loss last year, you and I would be complaining about, the terrible call against Stokes and how that reversed a fumble touchdown. We'd be talking about how the pick six might have screwed up our offense a little bit because that, didn't get the offense out there, didn't get them that many plays. So let's just for a second talk about this game, but I think most of this conversation is going to be about what the heck do we do now? So I think we should start there. Being a total homer, Packers win that game if that illegal contact call doesn't get called. Do you agree with me?
I think so.
14-3, all the momentum. Defense has that swagger we've been asking for a few weeks. We win the game. I don't understand. I mean, I heard Wayne Larrivee basically complain about it on the radio. So I didn't see it until several hours later. And I thought I was going to see something where I'm like, yeah, okay, I can see it. How? In what league is that? In what league is that a call? Tell me I'm wrong, Marcus. Tell me I'm wrong and that I'm a homer. But in what league is that?
I mean, I think we can usually give the referees the benefit of the doubt. I feel like that was a super soft call. I don't know. I mean, they explained the rule, on TV, but even then, it's like, okay, well, I mean, certainly nothing egregious. I mean, illegal contact. I don't think so, but
you see that
was
play.
The call, and
you see that contact on every play, every single play.
I agree. Yeah, pretty much
every single play, and every play where the ball is thrown to that guy too. You know what I mean? Where all eyes are on. But that was on, and usually those holds or whatever is the reason why the quarterback decides to run or tucks the ball or whatever. But yeah. So that was unfortunate. And if this were one game, one loss, and wasn't a pattern, I think that would be the focus of this episode. But the focus of this episode is it's kind of like the Packers. What do we even start with right now? Because I can say I don't like the coaching. I don't love the play calls, although they did do I have to take some heat. They did a lot of what I asked for, a lot of short passes. They just didn't work out. Rookies not catching the ball.
Well, not only rookies. I mean,
veteran players not catching the ball.
Aaron Jones, yeah.
Yep.
I mean,
Aaron Rodgers missing passes, although this game apparently was his best game so far this year, according to Pro Football Focus. Special teams. It's okay. I realize that we're all humans in this world, so I never want to bury someone personally or anything like that. So I'm not doing that here. I hope Amari Rodgers finds success in this league because everyone should. But if he's returning a punt next week, that's a fireable offense, in my opinion, because how can you fumble the ball this many times through 7 weeks and still put him out there?
So here's what my thought process was. Okay, there must be somebody that literally on that special team unit that doesn't have any hands, because I don't understand how you can keep putting him out there. If he's your best option, okay, but then you need to find a better option. You know what I mean?
To your point, the coaches aren't dumb. They're not going to put out a worse option on purpose.
Right.
There is nobody there, which is more alarming. That's why I don't want to bury Amari, because he's a second-year player. I'm sure as soon as we cut him, he's going to do great somewhere else. But how is there not a better?
Would it be out of the question to put would it be out of the question to put Romeo Doubs back there?
Yes, it is.
It's out of the question?
It's out of the question. We don't have any receivers in the room. There's no more we can't risk Doubs being hurt because he's our best receiver right now. Lazard left hurt. That uncatchable pass interference call that got picked up, I'm being told, again, I listened to the game, I'm being told that it looked like Sammy Watkins kind of limped out of it, and the reason why it was uncatchable is because he didn't finish the route. Cobb is on the IR. We don't have, we can't put him back there because if he gets nicked, we literally are lining up AJ Dillon and Kenny Clark on the on the outside. And the most frustrating part is we've known we didn't have Davante Adams since frickin' March. And our front office was overconfident maybe that these draft picks were going to work out, that a guy like Sammy would work out, and maybe they will. I really hope that I'm going to be proven wrong on the next week. But it just doesn't feel, it feels like we came to the test without studying, and we're surprised that we're not doing well in the test. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I like that analogy. And I think, we've talked about Davante Adams ad nauseum at this point, but I feel like the loss of MVS is being felt a lot right now. We had MVS re-sign with the Packers, we would have a veteran presence alongside Allen Lazard, Randall Cobb, who would ideally be healthy. I think he's healthy right now for the Chiefs, but you have a guy that you can rely on. We've talked a lot about Davante Adams, but though he and MVS was essentially our number 2 receiver.
MVS
so you're not
had
just
100
down
yards, by the way, this weekend with Kansas City.
Yeah. Again,
if you want to watch football, watch Kansas City, and then tell me that we're going to go win a Super Bowl this year. Anyway, Go on.
No, but my point is just that. We didn't just lose one Pro Bowl receiver. We lost a really solid, reliable number 2. And essentially, Allen Lazard is a glorified number 1 at best. He's a solid NFL player at this point. He's putting up good numbers, but if he's dropping the ball, every game on a 3rd and 4 when we need him to be the most sure-handed catcher of the football on the team, I don't know what we're gonna do. But yeah, injuries happen. We shouldn't be surprised that Sammy Watkins was on the pup and is gonna be iffy the next couple of weeks. You can't predict an injury to Randall Cobb. That's unfortunate. You can't predict an injury to Allen Lazard.
You can predict.
Well,
Randall's not going to make it through a year. Not because of his history, but yes, because of his history, but because he's a 31, 32-year-old wide receiver who's been playing since he was, 20?
Okay, so let me rephrase that. You can forecast a single player being injured, but, I'm not sure what point I'm trying to make it right now, but basically, you're never going into a season thinking, every single receiver that we want to rely on is going to be hurt and is going to be out for significant time this season. I'm
going to challenge you on that because we kind of hit a little bit of gold with Doubs, right? Like a 4th round wide receiver. No one really thinks that you're playing much. So kind of with what you're saying in mind, the front office thought basically Lazard's going to be a stud. Okay, he is a stud, by the way. He's just a stud with a specific type of receiver. He's not Davante. He's not a number 1. And this is not a knock against him. He's a very, very, very good number 2, number 3 type receiver, right? Like the best 2 or 3 type receiver, but he doesn't take that like hot route, if you will. But we got Lazard. You got Cobb and Watkins, who are likely going to miss 4 games minimum, right? Not minimum, but they're going to miss time, right? And you draft a essentially first-round pick receiver, which is dangerous to assume they're going to be an impact right away. But let's just give them the benefit of the doubt. You know what? First pick, second pick of the second round. Let's assume he can play. We got lucky with Dobbs. We got lucky that we hit on a 4th-round receiver, and he's still a 4th-round pick receiver. Like, we're doing better than like what I think they should have been prepared for, and that's even bad. Disagree?
I don't disagree. I mean, I think you're making a good point. I think you're betting on the upside of the other guys though too. You're hoping that Amari Rodgers takes a step forward. There's no guarantee either way. Most rookies are bad. That's just the NFL. You know what I mean? If you're counting on rookies, I agree.
We don't know. We know that, so they know that.
Right. And again,
these guys are going to be great. Dobbs is going to
Yes.
be great over the next 5 years. But he's
Right.
today. Aaron Rodgers potentially last year. Not good.
Yeah. No, I understand. And we talk so much about the wide receivers, but the best player on offense for the Packers besides Aaron Rodgers is Aaron Jones. Okay? I mean, we've talked about that a lot. The running backs need to get the ball, and you don't have to be a wide receiver to catch the football in the NFL. Robert Tonyan is coming off an injury, but he caught 10 touchdowns 2 years ago, and he set a record for tight ends catching 10 against the Commanders. So, I think this coaching staff and this organization was hoping that, there was so much attention paid to the wide receiver, but they still had some playmakers on offense. I honestly feel like it's not you can't just blame. You just can't blame the organization for not finding the right players because, you hear this a lot, but it's kind of a cliche, but it's true. The other team gets paid too. You know what I mean? So you're going up against elite athletes on the other side of the ball, and sometimes the guys just need to execute. We saw 7-8 drops in this game. You can't have that. Aaron Rodgers is not playing to his level, to the standard that he holds himself to, but he's playing okay, all things considered. I honestly feel like the issue is coaching and is maybe the relationship between LaFleur and Rodgers. Rodgers not wanting to do what LaFleur wants him to do. LaFleur making some bad calls and Rodgers maybe making some bad audibles. And then again, it's a lack of execution. But I don't know. One of those things needs to give. Either Rodgers needs to play within the offense and scheme guys open because that's the only way some of these guys are going to get the ball. We're not getting separation at the line. We're not finding ways to get open. We don't have these giant gaps in coverage running across the seam like some of these other teams have against us. So what do you do? I mean, you need to figure out how to get these guys open, whether that's a rub route, a crosser route where you kind of pick. You have 2 natural picks in that play. But we've seen that not work this year for the Packers because they've got rookies that aren't in the right places or guys that run into each other. You know what I mean? So something's got to give. I can't put all the blame on not having the best wide receiving core in the National Football League. We're depleted at the position for sure, but at some point, you need to rise above. You need to be greater than the sum of your parts, and we've seen coaches from the Shanahan tree do it with less. We've seen Shanahan do it in San Francisco for years. You know what I mean?
I know what you mean, and I think you're right. I think there's if you listen to any Packers podcast, you follow the Packers at all, heck, if you watch the game, I think everyone can come to their own conclusion of what the problem is. Devontae not being here, Aaron's guys like Hackett leaving.
The problem is there's too many problems.
And that's the point. That was my point, right? There's too many problems that if that one problem was the magic bullet problem, then we could tweak it and we could fix it. And in a game or two, it could happen. But offensively, it's broken. Like it just feels like I watched bad football this whole weekend, right? And even in those bad games, plays happened, right? Where there was enough positivity, if you will, or like something came of it. Like, Rodgers is saying like, hey, these rookies aren't in the right position. Well, the play that basically beat us in the Washington game was that 3rd and 8 or whatever, where Heineke was about to get hit, threw the ball up in the air, 2-minute warning was happening, and the receiver came back to the ball, which Jair normally would be able to defend, but Jair decided to have his worst game of the year for some reason. Those off-script plays seem to be happening for even not so good teams like the Commanders, but they're not happening for us either. So it just seems completely dysfunctional, and I just don't think we're going to see improvement, honestly, until maybe towards the end of the year, where it's far too late. And oh, by the way, it might already be too late. Even if we go on a winning streak, there are so many teams ahead of us right now that we need to beat out to make a wild card, where it's already a tough climb. And the problems I see with an untrained nine are just seem very steep, very, very steep.
Yeah, I mean, I will say that the one ray of hope is that the NFC, aside from a couple of teams, seems pretty wide open right now. I mean, yeah, there are a lot of teams ahead of us, but we're sitting at 3-4. There's a lot of 4-3 teams. We have 7 teams going to the playoffs now instead of 6. There's 17 games instead of 16, 10 left to play. We're not even in midseason yet. I've got the panic button sitting out on my desk. It's still in the glass case, but nope. I'm ready to take the cover off.
You can't tell me you have not pressed the panic button. You can't tell me that. The panic button has to be pressed by now. It doesn't mean you give up on the year, but you need to be panicking right now if you're any bit associated with the Packers. You have to be, because you're right. There are more playoff positions, but guess what? The terrible NFC East is not terrible anymore. The Eagles are undefeated. They're winning the division. The Giants, 6-1, so they might win the division too. But one of those teams is going to get the wild card game. The freaking Cowboys, they're a game ahead of us. So we're even behind in the wild. You're right. There are a lot of 3-4 teams, 4-3 teams. But I mean, there's 8 of them and all 8 of them are fighting for that one playoff spot. So it's not like, oh, there's 7 spots, we can slide into one. No. We're going to be working our ass offs and battling to get that 7th spot. And it seems like, I mean, if you can tell me, can you confidently make $1,000 bet right now that we make the playoffs? Would you make that bet?
I mean, I never bet. So that's
theoretically, right? From the betting perspective, from a confidence perspective, do you really think today, right now, can we make the playoffs?
We can. I mean, again, we're 7 games into a 17-game season. This is the Green Bay Packers. This is Aaron Rodgers. I'm border, I'm at the border and I'm about to cross the line into panic, but I'm not there yet because
I'm panicking.
Panic. Well, then panic,
I'm
then
panicking.
panic. Then panic. You know what I'm saying? I mean, yeah.
What gives you hope?
I mean, like I said, aside
Aaron
from the Eagles,
Rodgers, we have Aaron Rodgers.
Yes, Aaron Rodgers. I mean, history gives me hope. Aaron Rodgers said in his press conference,
territory.
We are. You know what I mean? But
there is no history for this.
Well, I mean, I guess it depends on how you look at it. You know what I mean? We were, I think the Packers were 4-3 and then 4-6, if I remember correctly, in 2010, going into the year we won the Super Bowl, and then in 2016, I think we were 4-6 when we went and ran the table or something like that. So there is a precedent, and the common denominator in both those scenarios is Aaron Rodgers.
But Aaron Rodgers was, and I'm going to stay away from Aaron because I have mixed emotions on him right now. And I feel like my 2020 will be like, hey, he's a person, so let's not judge his demeanor or anything like that. But the interviews I watch with him and the press conferences I watch, it doesn't feel like he's about to give the relaxed speech. It feels like he can't say he doesn't think he's going to win, because that would be a terrible leadership move and he would never do that. But like, I remember those years, and I remember feeling like we're a play away from winning these games. We are not a play away this year of winning. We are several plays away from winning these games. And usually those plays are somehow trying to figure out how the other team is just going to screw up. Like we're not knocking on the door in these games. This was supposedly the easiest part of our schedule. Yes, the Giants, that loss looks better now. The Jets looks a little bit better now. The Commanders are the bottom of the barrel. Right? Like the bottom.
They have the same record as us now, so
we are the bottom of the but right? I mean, you can't explain this one away. Well, oh, that loss looks better than it did, right? Like you can't. It's the freaking Commanders.
Yeah.
Back up. They're not historically bad. They're not only historically bad, I should say. They're bad this year too.
Yeah. I mean, I like I said, I can't explain this one away. There are so many problems with this team right now. All we can do is hope that they can figure it out. But maybe Matt LaFleur is not as good a coach as we thought. Maybe they're too stubborn. Maybe moving Adam Stenavich from offensive line coach to offensive coordinator wasn't a good idea. And maybe that's why our offense, personnel aside, could be one of the reasons our offense is suffering as well as our offensive line. He takes his attention away from the offensive line to focus on the offense, and maybe he's not prepared for this position. I don't know.
What are the worst three offenses right now in the NFL? The Green Bay Packers, the Denver Broncos, Nathaniel Hackett, and the Chicago. Well, after yesterday, it's hard for me to say the Chicago Bears because they looked pretty good against the Patriots. But Chicago Bears, three teams that are coming straight from this LaFleur tree, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, maybe the NFL this is a copycat league. Maybe the NFL figured something out about LaFleur's offense that, to your point, on top of the fact that these players aren't the cream of the crop. Again, a lot of them are, but some key players aren't. And maybe they figured something out after these 2 amazing years of MVP performances from Aaron. Maybe the league studied LaFleur's offense and they figured out that they figured something out. But
just out of curiosity, what stat are they going by to say the Packers are the 3rd worst offense in the league? Just out of curiosity.
My eye.
Oh. Okay. I mean, we're definitely not a good offense, but we're definitely not worst 3. That's for sure.
Aren't we though?
Points per game, we're 23rd. Okay, so that leaves 8 teams, or 9 teams behind us. We're 20th in yards per game. We're not a good offense, that's for sure. We're not bottom 5. But
we're not.
At this point, it doesn't really matter if you're not top 10 or certainly top 14, then you're probably not going to make the playoffs. But we'll.
And the reason to everyone out there still listening to us just complain, the reason we're not talking about our defense is because it's not their fault. Yes, there are plays that they could have converted. Yes, they can be better, but stop it. Shut up. This is all offense. 100% offense.
Yeah. Well, and to your point, the defense is the number 1 passing defense in the league, and it's the top 14 defense in total points per game. So I feel like points per game is probably the statistic that matters the most. I mean, if you want to let 400 yards, for the opposing team's offense, but you hold them to 17 points, I'll take that, right? Wouldn't you?
I'd take it. The only criticism I have on them is, yes, I would love more turnovers. We all would. They're not turning over the ball like they should.
No,
but you know what?
Go ahead.
It's not the issue. It's not the issue. And when people start talking, like Jair got beat twice. And yes, him playing better might have changed that game, but so would have every offensive snap that game. Every single snap, except for the sick play from Rodgers to Jones. Let's just focus on that one play.
That's what you see. You see glimpses, and you see that is an absolute perfect throw, scramble from Rodgers, and a perfect catch by Aaron Jones. I mean, that was absolutely a thing of beauty, and that's the type of stuff that gives me hope. So, if to answer your question from earlier, what gives me hope? It's that they can. This team has the potential to execute. They're just not right now. So
they can pull one play off from against the Commanders.
Well, okay, yeah, right.
What are they going to do against this Bills deep? We're not going to look at the Bills game yet. We'll do another episode
where
we will both be 50. More upbeat, and we will both talk about how we're going to win. But right now, I'm still wallowing in this despair of what it's like to, and just to add insult to injury, is for the last 3 games, we could have topped the Bears to be the most winningest team in the NFL. And the Bears, because we tied them a couple weeks ago with the Patriots win. And then the last 3 weeks, we just squandered the opportunity to become that team. And then the Bears win last night. We are again in second place with the most winningest team, which I know is not a stat that really matters, but it kind of does.
Oh, well, I think that's enough complaining for today. Thanks, everybody, for listening to us.
Well, wait. Sorry to cut you off.
You're going to cut me off? Okay, go ahead.
Let's both be good managers, right? Or something. Like, let's good parents, good managers, good whatever. What is, beyond that catch, what is something positive? Like, honestly, what's something positive that's going to give you, and you kind of answered this already, but what's something positive that's going to get you hope? Because to your point, we're 7 weeks in. We do need a little bit of a miracle. A little bit of one. Not a huge one. But let's end this episode on a positive note, because I don't think the season's over yet. The panic button has been pressed. But beyond that Aaron Jones catch and that scramble, what's something that you can get excited about after watching these terrible games, the last 3 games? What's something that's going to get you pumped for our next episode and our game against the Bills?
Well, we get to watch the Bills.
That's terrible. Oh no. And you just made me think of more negative things.
Sorry. No. I am excited to watch this Bills team, but I mean, what's one thing that's positive? I mean, it's the Green Bay freaking Packers, man. Ride or die.
I love it. You know what's also kind of exciting about that Commanders game? We got to see our other first-round pick, I think, for the first time, Devontae Wyatt, and I think he made a couple plays. Is that right?
Maybe. It doesn't ring a bell to me.
I'm going to say yes. I mean, a couple plays is relative to this team, but we got to see our rookies. We got to see Aaron Jones. LaFleur, despite our criticism on him today, he did have Aaron Jones touch the ball, I think, 40% of the plays. Now, I would have changed when he touched it. 4th and 1. I think I called that in the preview game. Don't freaking throw the ball on 4th and 1 anymore. I'm sick of it. But it seems like we're trying to make adjustments to get the ball to our best player, and it's exciting to see. It's exciting to see some big plays out of Jones, but yeah, man, it's hard to hear us. We didn't plan that part ahead of this, and it's tough to hear us both struggle to get something positive out of this.
Mm-hmm. I will add one positive. Aside from the Amari Rodgers muffed punt, the special teams didn't miss a single tackle.
Okay,
for the first time all season.
Let's go. Let's build on that. And I think that is what's going to conclude this episode. Marcus, send us out on a positive note.
I'm positive we're going to watch this game together and hopefully have some fun and try to keep the negativity at bay. But thanks for listening, everybody. Don't forget to subscribe to the Green and Golden Boys on any podcast app that you use. And Charles, as always, go back.